Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon or a very good morning, depending on where you are located. Welcome to this IDEN Ship It 365 webinar. Thank you for joining in such high numbers as well. It just goes to show the importance of integrated shipping in Business Central, especially in today's climate. My name is Nicolas Lambrechts. Together with me in this session is my colleague Thijs van den Heuvel. Thijs will be guiding you through the solution in just a little while, but it's up to me to give you a brief intro. You can ask your questions, obviously, during the session via the pane on the left-hand side of your screen. We will be handling a few questions during this session, but the ones we won't have time for, we will answer them personally via email within the next 48 hours. So what we will be looking at is our Ship It 365 extension for Business Central. It allows users to ship goods directly integrated in their Business Central or NAV system, because Ship It is also still available for NAV 2015 and later systems. It's a huge time saver. It allows printing of labels with a few clicks and many more features, but I will let Thijs tell you all about it. So if you could, Thijs, please take it away.
Thank you, Nicolas. What I always want to make clear at the beginning of a Ship It presentation is that Ship It is Transmart. So there's two companies involved here, two components. There is the Business Central extension, Ship It, that's what we develop at IDEN. And then there's the data platform, and that is Transmart. That means in order to use Ship It, you need to have an account at Transmart. And what we're looking at now, this is their website. And I invite you all to, after the session, to go to this website yourselves, take a look around. There's a lot more to read than what I'm about to tell you. But Transmart is the party that develops and maintains the data platform in which all of those 400 and something carriers are brought together. Transmart bundles all of these interfaces into one single endpoint for us, for Ship It, to connect with. So in fact, many of the smart features within Ship It are actually functionalities of the underlying Transmart platform. And Transmart not only makes sure that all those carrier interfaces are brought together, what is perhaps even more important is that they also continuously monitor and maintain them. After all, building an integration is one thing, but maintaining it is just as important, because when an integration component is down, you'll see that it always happens at a moment which is not quite convenient. Inconvenient for the customer who still has 300 shipments to book, and it's definitely not convenient for the partner who developed this interface 2.5 years ago. And at that time it was done by Mark, and Mark now happens to be on a vacation, and it's proving to be quite difficult to free up someone right now to solve this problem right away, or even better, yesterday. And I'm quite sure that all the partners within this session who are watching right now know exactly what I'm talking about. And we should also add that Transmart also takes care of label design and printing. And this is again one of those topics everyone knows what a great pleasure it is to work on, and how easy it is to always have someone available right now to fix these tiny little things that had to be changed as of yesterday in a label or in the printing instructions. And at Transmart, this is their core business. So it's all handled centrally for many, many customers. And with that, we can rest assured and just be confident that the printer will always produce the right label all year round. It's simply great to see what the Transmart platform has to offer. This simply means that we can focus on building Dynamics extensions. Transmart focuses on the world of carriers, and together we can deliver a rock-solid product which optimizes your Business Central logistics and can connect with those 400 transport companies worldwide. Does it cost anything, Transmart? That's actually a question we get asked quite often. And yes, it certainly does. Those people have to eat too. But do the cost outweigh the benefits? We definitely think so. Not if you're just sending a couple of hundred parcels a year, I'll say that right away. But even then, you might still want to consider it because you will reduce your error margins to almost 0%, and that alone might already be a great improvement in the service you're offering your customers. But I only have one carrier. That's another question we do hear from time to time. Can't ShipIt just connect directly to DHL? Do I need this Transmart platform? And the answer simply is no, you can't. And yes, you need Transmart, because even for that one carrier, then it would be us, Aydin, who has to monitor and maintain that connection all year round. And that's, as I mentioned before, that's something we don't want, and that's probably something you don't want as well. So what we did do together with Transmart is to create the best possible offer, even for those smaller customers, or maybe they're big, but customers who are just using one carrier. On the ShipIt side, you can then choose to use ShipIt Lite. It's a version which is simply limited to one carrier. You can purchase that at half the normal price. If you do want to move forward and start to use multiple carriers, you simply purchase the full license by paying the difference. And at the same time, for that ShipIt Lite on the Transmart side, you can also go for a fast track kind of implementation. So altogether, keeping costs low if you're just working with one carrier. Speaking of carriers, that's of course quite an important topic. And let's go to this one up here. There is a list of carriers, and of course, it's quite important to know that the carrier you want to use is supported by Transmart. So just go on here, click this one, new page will open. There you go. Here's a little selector which you can use to just select the country you're shipping from, and then click on results, and per country you can see which carriers are supported. And again, just go on their website and see for yourselves. There's quite a lot of information, and there's quite a long list of carriers to go through. When you can't find your carrier on this list, even then you might still be able to use that one, because then you could go for a so-called generic interface. You might be using one of the larger ones for the majority of your shipments, but you're still using that little company around the corner which performs really well for a certain type of shipment. And they probably don't have an advanced IT system which Transmart can integrate with. But then you can ask the people at Transmart to set up this generic interface. Company gets created in the system. You can just use Business Central and just select that carrier, just as you would for other packages select DHL. In the end, the result for you, the interface is the same in Business Central. Transmart will just send an email or a file to that company. So they just get the transport orders, and you just have your streamlined experience on the BC side. So besides everything I've just told you and what I've showed you here, Transmart does have quite a long list of additional services they can offer you. Go on their website, check out what they can do for you, or if you want, contact one of their account managers. And if you need some contact details, let us know and we'll hook you up with the right account manager for your country. And for now, that was it. Let's go back to Business Central. Let's close this one, that one, and here we are back in Business Central. Before we dive into ShipIt, perhaps good to open one other web page here, because what I'm about to show you is the same version as you'll find here on AppSource. Always good to mention. If you're wondering, can I try this? Yes, you can. Just go on here. Even if you already have a Transmart account and you don't even want to try anything, you just want to start right away. Same thing, just install the trial, but then make sure you use your live credentials and you can just start to work with ShipIt, with Transmart, as you probably then did before in NAV or whatever else you were using before this. If you haven't used anything in terms of Transmart, if you don't have a Transmart account, still just click free trial. Within the process of installing the extension, we will get an email which says that you've installed it, and one of my colleagues will come back to you with some information on how to get started with a trial account and a test account on the Transmart side as well. So all in all, then you can still start to book and print right away. We can now close this one and really dive into the ShipIt software. So first, let's look at some configuration, and for that I'm switching to this new role which is now available in your system since you've installed ShipIt. As you can see, with all our add-ons, you at least get one or sometimes two new roles in your Business Central environment. We'll select ShipIt Manager for now. And here we go, our ShipIt dashboard. First thing I'm going to show you is the setup wizard. First step within these wizards is always the license key. Whatever extension you're using, we always start by letting you enter the license key. And if you've installed the trial from AppSource, you've automatically received an email with a trial key in there. If you already purchased a subscription, you again have received a license key, but then that one's connected to your account. And even if you decide to go from trial to a full subscription, then you'll just stick with that one key and we'll just upgrade the account which is connected to that key. So you receive the key, put it in here and click next. So next to that license key you got from us, you also received a username and password from Transmart, and that's what you put in here together with an account code. In more complex setups you could use multiple account codes. And you choose which environment to connect to, which means either a test environment, test or acceptance, or the production environment. Everyone who gets an account with Transmart also gets access to an acceptance or test environment. Now that we've entered our license key and our Transmart account credentials, the system will automatically pull in all the what we call master data from your Transmart account. So you can also tell by the notification we received on top here, all the carriers, all the contract data from that account which is needed here in Business Central to work with the account is now downloaded and ready for some more configuration on this side. One more thing to explain here. When you've installed the ShipIt extension, there's one new entity that gets introduced in your Business Central system, and that is the transport order, the one you see mentioned up here. And that's like a new document which is used for all the information that has to be sent to and taken back from Transmart into Business Central. So the transport order is a new document for which you have to configure a new number series in order to work correctly. Well, then there's some defaults. There's one over here. It's now set to Dutch. There's some more defaults. You can work with cost centers. You can have the Transmart platform to send emails. You're working with package types, and these are all things which first have to be defined within your Transmart account, and then will be pulled into Business Central, and then you can do some configuration here in order to set the right defaults to make things work as easy as possible. So for now, let's just move on. This was the last page actually. Happy shipping it says, which is always nice. So here we go. Let's finish that one. So this setup wizard took us through the most basic steps of configuration. We've entered our credentials. It has pulled in the so-called master data. Now let's open the general setup page, and immediately here on top you find a button which can do that master data thing again. We of course don't have to click that right now because we did that just on the final step of the wizard. But you can imagine if you maybe added a new carrier contract or made some changes in the Transmart platform. Then what you do is you go in here, you click on Update Master Data, and the same thing will happen. Any changes, any new contracts or services you added to your account will be pulled into ShipIt, and if configuration is needed, you see some of that in the next few steps, but just do your configuration and you can immediately start to use that new carrier or new services within Business Central. So let's go over some of these fields here on the general setup page. And one of the most important settings within ShipIt, you'll find them immediately down here. That's how do you want to work? Is it in a posted setup or unposted setup? Meaning posted is okay, automatically upon posting a sales order or transfer order, automatically create a transport order. Or should we stick to unposted documents, meaning we leave everything up to the user to just click buttons to create transport orders that way? So by setting posted documents, and then for every document where we know within this system that we need shipping to take place, if we then set all these to automatically create transport orders, then the people who are working in these areas never have to think about or worry about any shipping at all. Everything will simply happen automatically. For now, let's switch back to unposted documents so that I can actually show you some things by clicking buttons. The next one here, always new transport order, meaning if we leave this to true, the system will try not to optimize in terms of transport orders. So for every sales order or every transfer order that's being booked, we always create a new transport order. But if we set it to off, the system will try to optimize. It will try to put as much source documents, meaning sales orders, purchase return orders, etc. It will try to put as much as possible onto the same transport order based on delivery location and delivery date. For now, for this demo, I'll set this one back to always new transport orders, so no optimization will take place. Down here, some defaults for the numbers to be used within calculating pickup and delivery times. When can we pick up? When do we allow to deliver? And here, email types, cost center, and package types. Email types, that's like email templates, so you don't have to use it, but you could ask the Transmart platform to send track and trace emails to your receivers. And for that, you can define one or more different email types or email templates. And then here you can tell the system, okay, use this one for everyone. Later on, I can show you on a customer level that you can set a separate or a different email type for that specific customer. You can use cost centers. It's like adding labels or dimensions to your transports. Again, define them on the Transmart platform, pull them in as part of your master data, and attach them here to every transport, or maybe to some transports for some customers. And then the last one, but that's the most important one, package types. That's something, again, to be first configured on the Transmart platform, will be pulled in here, and you have to use these in order to inform the carrier companies and at first to inform the Transmart platform for calculations and for booking shipments, what it actually is that you're shipping or that you want to send. So for now, we'll go for default package type box. Here under shipping cost, we see add freight line, and that's an interesting feature. We can use that within a sales order. If we're on a sales order and we're asking the Transmart platform, okay, give me all my rates and where I can select one, then if this one's set to enabled or to true, then the rate I select or the carrier service I select to use, the rate which is attached to that will then automatically be added as a new line onto my sales order. So if normally my customers are paying for the shipping costs, then just enable this one. You can add a surcharge here, so you can say, okay, and add a 5% on top of that, and altogether add that into one freight line, which is added to my sales order. So that is what I wanted to show you today in terms of setup. One final button, which is interesting here, we have a verify setup, and if you just click on that one, you see that it will go through a lot of checks within your configuration, and it will tell you, okay, most has been done. Hey, there's one left open here. Okay, so we'll see mapping in a minute, but you if you're looking for something, if you're looking for an error or something which is not functioning, and you're asking, okay, did I configure it properly? You can always go in here, say verify setup, and immediately you can see, okay, I forgot something here, or I still have to do something in that area. Quite helpful. So for now, let's close this one. Let's close this one as well. And let's look at some of the mappings. So within the first steps of the wizard, we entered our credentials, and then it said, okay, pulling in master data. And I also showed you that button on the Ship It page where you can do that again after you've maybe added another carrier contract to your Transmart account. And what that does, it pulls in things like this here, it's the codes on the right actually, and you have to create some mappings. So what that means is that here on the left is your internal codes, and you have to map them towards these external codes, because when sending a transport towards Transmart, you of course have to use the right codes in order to properly inform the platform. This is what I actually want to happen. So you might call it DHL internally, but actually the contract you have is for what they call EEX. So this is a one-time thing. Go over all the shipping agents you have in Business Central and set the correct mapping. You do that on shipping agent level, but you also do that on shipping agent service level. So here's some more of those EEX codes, all attached to the different service levels that I'm using here within Business Central. So that was shipping agents. Next is shipment methods. Same thing. You have your internal codes, map them towards the codes on the Transmart platform. These actually look completely the same, or they are completely the same, but you can imagine you can have as many internal shipment method codes as you want. And of course, the system on the other side has to know what that is. So those are your mandatory mappings. You have to map your shipping agents. You have to map your shipment methods in order for the communication with the platform to function properly. And then there is some additional mappings you can go through. That's currency, country, region, and language. If you're using all the defaults, then you never have to go in here, because then it's ISO codes within Business Central and same on the Transmart platform. But if you, for some reason, created some alternative currency codes or alternative country codes, then just do the mapping, and then the other side will still know what that is you're sending over. So those were all the mappings. We can do some more configuration. For instance, here under administration, we can go into customer setup, where you can find some more fields. We've seen email types on the standard setup page already, where I told you that you can have the Transmart platform to send track and trace emails to your receivers. And here on a customer specific level, you can tell the system, okay, for this customer, don't use this email type or email template, but use the other one. Same goes for cost center. And then here's one interesting field. We're not using it here, but if your customer wants them to ship on behalf of their account, just ask them for their account number and put it in here, and then the system will ship on behalf of that number. So this was really everything we can do in terms of setup and configuration. Extension got installed. We went through the wizard. We put in our license key and our credentials, all the contract and additional data from the Transmart platform as far as we needed in here in Business Central. It was all pulled in. We configured and we set the mapping codes, or we mapped our internal codes towards the external codes. We've set a custom email type here for this customer. That's it. We can now start to ship some goods. In order to do that, we're going to switch roles. Let's go to settings and let's go back to our sales order processor. And let's go to customers. and simply create a new document, new sales order, that is, for my favorite customer up here. We've already shipped way too much to this customer. They should pay their invoices, but for now, let's leave it. Okay, customer called me and says, okay, can you ship this to me by next Friday? Well, probably can. And what it is, we're shipping, of course, some Athens tables from our Cronus catalog. So if we scroll down a bit, we see that here, because we had that setting in our setup, that we're always adding one default package type, which is box. So that one has been added onto this screen already. And why do we add that here? Well, that's because we want to use some Transmart functionality here, meaning our carrier select. This is actually quite nice because directly I can pull up all the contracts and all the possible services and the cost that comes with that. I can pull it up in the screen here, and I can even talk shipping costs directly with my customer. And we can figure out, okay, you want to receive this on the 29th at that time. Well, there's definitely no express needed here, so we can just stick with the cheapest one. Say, okay, are you okay with DHL Euro Plus? Yeah, sure. And if we select that one, because we also had that freight line enabled in our setup, you see it's now here on our sales order as an additional line with that €5 something plus the 5% surcharge, all added to my sales order, and we're ready to ship. We won't be shipping upon posting because we set the system to work with unposted documents, which means that we manually have to click a button here, create transport order. And let's open the transport order right away. And here we are. A little visual confirmation here on the right that I'm shipping from Amsterdam down to the south. Looks good. Or actually, it's the other way. My pickup location is here, and we're shipping to Amsterdam. And here it is, my transport order with all the details I've just selected or added onto my sales order. Pickup time, delivery time, and then here is my source lines. As I mentioned before, this entity, this new type within your Business Central system, the transport order, it can carry, or it's used to take all the data from your Business Central to Transmart and back from Transmart into Business Central. And you can put as much source lines onto one transport order as you wish. In this case, it's just one sales header and one sales line, so that results in one line here. If we were using that optimization feature, we could leave this one open, or we could have started a minute ago with a sales document with a lot of lines on it. Whatever configuration you have, the system will add as much source lines here as needed. And that in the end is what gets sent to Transmart and gets sent to DHL after that. So for now, we just have one source line. We also have one package, as we already configured on our sales order. And down here, we have one delivery node line. Delivery nodes are required for shipping goods to certain countries. Their customs might require you to describe every item in every package. And with that setting, which I showed you earlier in the setup, the system will automatically already create lines per item and just take the name and description and put it in the line here. Of course, you can still change that, or you can leave it as it is. Now down here, we have an overview of all the addresses used in this shipment. Looks fine to me. This one's interesting. Additional references. It doesn't do anything by default, but you do have a whole bunch of free text fields to use. And if you want something to happen on the way, so if you're agreed with DHL that if you're adding instructions this and that, then please do something when delivering the package, or maybe you want these instructions to result in some additional label to be, or additional text to be printed on the label, then you can ask Transmart to pick up and process anything custom that has to happen. You can see these as parameters to instruct those processes. So for now, our transport order looks just fine. We have two options left. We can go for book, which will send the transport order to Transmart and will retrieve tracking number and URL. And then we have to do label printing somewhere separate. Or we can combine the two by clicking book and print. There we go. Do you want to download the label? Yes, because otherwise I can't show you anything. And here it is. Here's the label that belongs to the shipment we just booked. So standard label, nothing special. And as you can now see here, tracking number and tracking URL both arrived back into Business Central. And that was it. DHL now knows that we want them to pick this up. We have our number already. We can close this one. And as you can see, when you've installed ShipIt, you also got a little new fact box here on the right. On your sales order screen, there is a transport order detail fact box, and it has the same information. So you don't have to go into your transport orders. If a customer calls and asks you what's going on with that order or shipment, just go in here. You have the status directly available here, and you click on the link. And you can see, actually, you can see the same thing as that they can see because they probably received this URL as well. But all together here on your sales order screen. And if you install the job queue code unit, or if you let the job queue run the code unit, which we supply you to continuously retrieve transport order statuses in the background, then this will automatically change once the shipment got picked up and then afterwards when it's delivered. So yeah, super easy. And that was it. Sales order was created. System is set to work with unposted documents, so we had to click a few buttons. If we would have set it to act upon posting, then this is what would trigger a transport order to be created as well. For now, we've done that already, so let's just leave this one for now. And what we can actually best do is go back to our ShipIt manager role, go into this one again. And what I wanted to show you here is that if we go to transport orders, here we are, here at the bottom, here's that shipment we've just created. Now, that's one way of creating transport orders. There's actually many other ways. If we, for instance, would have configured the system to act upon posting, we could have also used the warehouse process. We could have even gone through picking and then with that closing the shipment. In the end, what will happen, that will simply book the sales order that belongs to that sales shipment, and that could have resulted in a transport order as well. Another way of creating transport orders is by going up here to Transport Worksheet. And this is, for instance, if you work again in a warehouse environment and maybe you have to process all the DHL orders before the 3 p.m. cutoff time or 4 p.m. You define a filter up here. You can say all DHL orders. It's very easy to switch from Dutch to English in this case. You say, okay, I want sales orders and maybe, well, just all the documents that might require any shipping. So just shipping agent code DHL and give me everything. If you then process this, like using make worksheet lines, you see here in the back what that does, that automatically picks up all the sales orders which still have to be processed. You can select them all at once and you can click here on create transport orders. And then based on your configuration, maybe this was all for one customer. In the ideal way, it would then, with the create new transport order setting set to false, it will optimize and it will simply put all this onto one transport order. But maybe it's a completely different set of sales headers, and it will just create as many transport orders as we have sales headers over here. But anyway, just select them all by setting checkboxes and clicking create transport orders. For now, I'm just going to close this one because I have more than enough transport orders in my demo system. Some additional things here on this page I wanted to show you is that we have some convenient buttons for downloading a label as a PDF document, or printing a label, just sending it to the printer again. And that's not only labels, but that's also additional documents which have been configured for this shipment. And I'll show you what those documents are in a second. You can even still recall a shipment as long as it's still possible, of course. But about documents, let's go into this shipment here. And we've now looked at shipments all the time by just using Business Central. But there's this button up here, Open in Dashboard. And that will take us to the Transmart platform. Definitely good to know that that's possible for every shipment, and that you can always go back into this one to see what has happened, what the software has done. But you can also go back in here to say, okay, download again what was created in terms of labels and documents. And you see this one just has that same shipping label we saw on the screen earlier. But if we close this and if we go to like this one and open that one, you see this one has a lot more, because this one actually had 2 packages. Rotate that one. This was a UPS shipment, and this is 1 out of 2. So there's package, that's the other one. But this one also has a CMR included. A commercial invoice, and whatever other type of document you ask Transmart to configure for you to include within the set of documents. And we're now looking at these documents here on the screen. But of course, when clicking Book and Print, you can have your printers to be configured to automatically print the label we just saw on the dedicated label printer. And you can print these on any other printer you have installed. So whatever is needed in terms of documents for your situation, for your type of transports, can be configured by Transmart within their platform, and you have all your labels and all your documents right where you need them. So let's close these for now. And we've seen this one as well. Let's close this one. And actually, I think that was it for what I wanted to show you at this moment. We've seen quite a lot, I think. We've configured our extension. We've created transport orders, a single one manually. We've talked about creating these fully automatically upon posting. We've seen how we can work with this from a warehouse perspective, so how we can create a whole bunch of transport orders at once. We've looked at printing labels, printing additional documents. We've seen the Transmart platform. Yeah, so all in all, quite a thorough introduction, I think. So back to you, Nicholas.
Okay, thanks for that, Tess. Thanks very much. I've been taking a look at a few questions. A lot of them are of a commercial nature. For that, I will answer these a bit later on in the session. We'll be looking at a specific pricing example. What I would suggest that we have a final look in the software for a recent addition with regards to calendars. So we've added a feature, and I don't think we've seen it yet, but it's a really cool addition which would solve a lot of problems for some of you. Tess, would you mind walking us through that addition, please?
Yes, sure. I can tell you something about that. We For that, we have to close this one, and we would go here into Administration Shipping Agent Calendar. And as you can see here, I have a table which we can edit. And here, per shipping agent code, per shipping agent service level, actually, we can say, okay, these are my pickup times and delivery times, the ones you have to use for your pickup and delivery calculations. But on top of these times, I can also add a calendar, which if we go to the full list here, and by this, we can look at the details. And within these calendars, you can actually make very specific exceptions. So I know that we have one in May. Here it is on the 13th of May, which is actually a non-working day here in the Netherlands. So we've marked that one with this checkbox, and you can put all these holidays or non-working days in a calendar like this. And by then selecting that calendar here within the shipping agent calendar configuration, you can make the whole calculation component to properly make use of those non-working days, which have to be skipped within the calculation. So if we, for instance, this was a Thursday, I remember, if it's now like Wednesday 7 or 5 p.m. and someone calls me and says, okay, I want this shipped next business day, the system will do its calculation and say, okay, I cannot pick up anymore. Okay, and then the next day is a Thursday. Okay, and that's a non-working day. So then we'll go for Friday after 9 a.m. I can come and pick up. So next business day, that's actually next Monday when you will receive your package, and not tomorrow, and not even the day after. So it's the Monday next week. That's what this thing does. And yeah, quite a detailed element, but it solves a lot of hassle for everyone, actually, because everyone has to deal with these special non-working days.
Okay, thanks a lot. Tess, you mentioned you've had one final thing to show the viewers. I'd say go ahead, please.
Yeah, the next and perhaps last thing I wanted to show you has nothing to do with Business Central, but is all about e-commerce. So specifically for our Magento customers, or maybe even if you're using the Commerce 365 for Magento connector already, if you then also are considering using ShipIt, then this might be interesting. I already opened up a customer webpage here. This is an online pharmacy and already put something in my basket. That's not the interesting part here today, but they have two different options, but they could also combine these into one. So they're presenting their own stores in a separate selector. So this is Transmart data. Their stores in the Transmart database shown as their own service points or pickup locations. And the other one is here, this one. That's the National Post, and then it's their pickup points. But if you want, well, these guys chose to not to combine those two types of service points, but you could combine them into one selector. You can even, if you're using multiple carrier contracts, like your PostNL here together with DPD or whatever combinations you're making, together with your own service points or your own store locations, you can combine that all into one pickup point selector to offer your end users or your buyers the best possible experience in terms of picking up the goods when they can't receive them at their doorstep. That you can offer them pickup points like this. Quite an interesting feature if you're running a B2C store nowadays. So yeah, that was it. Pickup points, interesting stuff, I think.
Okay, thanks for that, Tess. What I've also seen in the questions here is there's a few things related to Brexit. What I can share right now is that Transmart is fully prepared for the current situation. So, meaning that they're able to not only print labels, but they're also able to, when a user prints a label, also print the commercial invoice, the CMR freight notes, or any additional documents you might need for customs. So it's a simple setup on the Transmart side. And for more information on this, I wouldn't hesitate to contact support@transmart.com and they will answer all of your questions. Okay, and then a brief part I've prepared around implementation. So it's a question we get quite often a lot. We are more than happy to take care of the implementation for you. So for a partner that's lacking the time or the know-how to do so, we can take care of that. Let me get one thing straight though, because it's very important to know that we can only start with a ShipIt implementation once the Transmart account has been created and everything is up to date on that side. At a certain moment during the ShipIt implementation, you would need to do a master data update, and all Transmart data will then be picked up by ShipIt. The implementation for the ShipIt 365 extension, the way we do it, would take around 4 to 6 hours of work, just to give you an idea. Now, just to conclude this session, I'd like to share a pricing example with you. So in this particular example, we will be looking at a potential customer using Business Central, shipping around 20,000 parcels per year through both DHL and the DPD carriers. For such an example, pricing would look as follows. So there's, for the Transmart piece, a few one-off costs, and we will be assuming customer will be getting a business subscription on the Transmart site, because this is usually the case. So in this case, the customer would pay a one-off 1,950 euros to create their Transmart account or to have it created. This would be including a preliminary investigation and some guidance at the go live. In the case of customer request to use the carrier select functionality, as you've seen earlier, you as a user would pay 252 euros once per carrier. So just to be able to predict the shipping prices within ShipIt 365. Then we're at the annual recurring costs. So a customer would always pay for a base package. And again, the base package based on the business model is at the moment 1,149 euros per year. Now for this amount, the customer would get their connection to the two carriers, so DHL and DPD. They get their own label. There are 2 email templates included, and very important, support is also fully included from the Transmart side. On top of that, the first 2,500 parcels and their first 100 pallets are included in this fee as well. Then we're looking at the second recurring costs, and this would be a fee based on the shipment volume. So Transmart has divided their volume prices into brackets, and with a maximum of 20,000 sent parcels per year, this would mean a cost of 1,931 euros for that year. Now, what I've summed up is the Transmart side, which leaves only buying the ShipIt license from IDIN. This is priced at 179 euros per month for the full version, so allowing unlimited carrier connections. Or alternatively, if you're a customer only using one single carrier, you can get the license for as little as 89 euros per month. These subscription prices are all in, so there are no additional maintenance or enhancement fees, and these prices are valid for a license per Business Central tenant or per Voice ID. So again, ShipIt price all in and not dependent on any other parameters such as number of users or number of shipments. The ShipIt pricing itself has nothing to do with those. If you have any other questions around pricing, or if you would like us to do a calculation for your specific customer case, just let us know by sending us an email at sales@idin.nl. Please include the number of parcels they're looking to ship, whether they want to be able to predict the rates, and which carriers they intend to use. That's it. as far as we're concerned for this webinar. I would like to thank all of you again on behalf of everyone at Eiden for joining. I wish you all a very good day. I hope to see you soon. Thank you and bye-bye.